Hi guys, my name's Julia. Welcome to Book Time. Today I'm going to be doing my September wrap up. I got through 7 books, I think, this month. So I'm just going to go through them. Some of them I have already talked about in other videos, so I'm going to leave those ones to the end and I'll just talk about those ones briefly. So I'll go through the first few, the other ones that I haven't spoken about in videos yet, and I'm going to do them from the ones I liked least to the ones I liked most. And in fact, most of them are actually middle grade fiction. So the first one is The Doldrums, which is written and illustrated by Nicholas Gannon. And it's a middle grade novel. It's got these colour plates all the way through that are really, really cute. But here's another one. So unfortunately, I didn't love this one. I really, really wanted to. I'd seen it in a bookstore and I nearly bought it, you know, as I often do. But then I thought, I'll just borrow it from the library just to make sure I really like it before I purchase it. And I'm really glad I did, because I didn't love it. I actually only gave it 2 stars. I think my main problem with this book was, it's a library version, so it's very glary, shiny. I felt like it set itself up to be something that it wasn't. So at the start of the book, and based on what it says on the back, it's about this boy, Archer Helmsley, whose grandparents are explorers, and they get lost in the Antarctic and upon an iceberg, and you don't know whether they're alive or dead. And the story kind of sets it up as if Archer and his friends Oliver and Adelaide are going to go and somehow rescue them on some expedition, which I thought sounded really, really cool and fun, because I love, Antarctica is close to Australia. I'm really interested in it and I love adventure stories. The story is not that at all. So the grandparents do go missing. Archer wants to go on an adventure, but he is not allowed to leave his house. And he learns eventually to sneak out to his neighbours' houses, Adelaide and Oliver, who the 3 of them sort of become best friends. But literally nothing happens. I think the first 200 pages, it's just Arthur wanting to go on an adventure, and I don't even know what happened in those first 200 pages. In the last sort of 100 pages, or this is a long book, it's over 300 pages. Maybe in the last 50 to 100 pages, the 3 kids do end up having a different sort of adventure that I thought was quite engaging. And I definitely think the relationship between the 3 main characters got quite interesting in that last 100 pages as well. But basically, I think the book could have just been that last 100 pages. The other weird thing about this was the mums, so the mothers of each of the 3 kids were really horrible people. So Archer's mum is a total tyrant and never lets him leave the house. Oliver's mum, she was quite nice, I think. I can't remember. But Adelaide's mum was really, really horrible. And verging on verbally abusive in a couple of cases. It was really bad, but there was no explanation given in the story as to why the mums were like this, or why Arthur's mum so strongly didn't want him to leave the house. And it was just really bizarre. It just felt like this kind of mum hating vibe. And then the dads were kind, but also really ineffective. I don't know, it was just a bit awkwardly put together. I think the premise was good and the writing style is fine. I didn't love it. The next one I read was another middle grade one, Begone the Raggedy Witches by Celine Kiernan. This is number 1 in the Wild Magic trilogy. Oh, this one is a library copy too, so it's also very shiny. This was published just this year, I think. Yep, 2018 by Walker. Celine Kiernan is an Irish writer, and I think this takes place in kind of 2 worlds, but the realist section is in Ireland. And this was so good. I really loved it. It basically follows this girl called Mup, who I can't remember how old she is. She's probably 8. And her dad gets kidnapped by the Raggedy Witches and taken back into their world. And so Mup, along with her little brother Tipper and her mum, basically go into the witches' world to try and rescue their dad. This book was just so cool for so many reasons. The story itself was just really engaging. I really wanted to find out what happened. I really was interested in the characters. I found the world building great. I mean, it's a middle grade fiction, I would say, almost like an early middle grade. It's not super complex, but complex enough to be engaging for adults as well. And the description and the writing style was so lovely. Like, I could really visualize Mup's house. I could really visualize the world and the forest and the witches once I got into the witches' land. And the witches were really creepy too. They were really scary and well done. I thought it was great. What else is really interesting is the main character Mup is a woman, like a girl of colour. And even though the story is clear that she is a girl with dark skin, it's just like completely normal that she would be the hero of a fairy tale, which I think is awesome. Obviously, I think it's really important for novels for kids and young people to also deal with the specifics of like the way race kind of functions in the world and racism and like how you know the struggles that women of colour face. It was also cool that like the dad who they rescued, he was totally like he was so hopeless. Not a hopeless dad, but like in terms of the plot line, he was just kind of a plot device, and not like often traditionally it's been the other way around. Like women have been the plot device and men have been the heroes. It's really about Mup like rescuing her dad, learning what it means to be a good person, learning not to leave her friends behind, learning what it means to be a friend, to be inclusive. There's so many good messages in it, but it's sort of, it's kind of subversive on a whole number of levels, and I thought it was really great. I can't wait to read the sequels. Now, I know I said I was doing these in order from the ones I liked least to the ones I liked most, but I've mucked that up because I really, really loved Begone the Raggedy Witches. And Home Time, another middle grade one actually. I did like this, but not as much as I thought I would. It's by an Australian writer called Campbell White. It's a middle grade graphic novel, and the artwork is stunning. Like, definitely, I think if you're into graphic novels with interesting artwork, this would be really cool. And I think kids would really, really enjoy this. Like, I reckon I would have really loved it as a kid. So it's got lots of different styles. It starts off kind of sketches, and then it moves to like more traditional type of cartoon drawings. Then it gets super colourful and cartoony, and then by the end it's like pixelated. Here's another quite cartoony one. Then it gets really pixelated by the end. Anyway, it's really like the artwork is really, really great. The other thing that's really good about this is the world building. So basically the story of this, and I have talked about this a bit in a previous video, but it's about a bunch of kids on the way home from school on the last day of primary school. They accidentally fall into a river and wake up in a magical forest land called the Forest of the Peaches. And the peaches are these little like woodland creatures, and they think the kids are forest spirits and kind of gods, so they're sort of worshipped, and the kids are trying to work out what's going on, and some of them love it there, some of them want to go home. The actual story as it progresses is fine. Like, it's not that much happens. I think this is, as I said, definitely more about the artwork, and the world building is very comprehensive, which is really cool. And again, that I think is why kids would really like it. So for example, every so often it'll have like a sketch like this describing like the tree house that the Peaches live in and how it's constructed and what all the different materials are made out of. And it just really reminded me of like when my brother and I were little, and we would create complex worlds like that and write all these details in. And I feel like, kids would really get into all that nitty gritty detail, which is really cool. So I think I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads. In hindsight, it's probably like 3 stars. It's got a nice feel to it. I really liked it. I will probably read the sequel. This is part 1, and then the story finishes in part 2. So I definitely picked that one up because I'm interested to find out what happens, even though I didn't like totally blow my mind. So there's that one. The next 3, the first one is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Don't really need to talk about that. Adore it, 5 stars, reread. There's that one. The next one I haven't talked about on this channel yet, but I am going to, because it's one of the novels that was shortlisted for the Readings Prize for New Australian Fiction, and I've been reading through the shortlist and reviewing them. So I'm just waiting to finish The Lucky Galah, which I'm reading at the moment, and then I'll do a video wrapping up these 2. So this is Pink Mountain on Locust Island by Jamie Marina Lau, published by Brow Books, which is the publishing arm of The Lifted Brow, which is an Australian literary journal, very well regarded. And this was really cool. I think it was published this year or last year. I did enjoy reading it, but I think the blurb on the back set it up to be something a bit different than it actually was. So my expectations were a bit skewed. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it too much more because I'm going to do a review on it. But anyway, I liked it. We'll talk about it more later. The next two I'm not going to talk about much at all because I've already done the video on them and I'll link it down below. First one was The Fireflies of Autumn by Marino Giovannoni. Don't have my hard copy anymore because I've lent it to my mother-in-law. And also Flames by Robbie Arnott. This one was published this year by Text. Fireflies of Autumn was published this year by Black Ink. Both independent Australian publishers. Whoops. Yep, loved them, both 5-star reads. I'll link the videos down below. They're both very different. Fireflies of Autumn is sort of like a migrant tale set in Tuscany during the course of the 20th century, and it's like heaps of characters, a whole lot of little stories and vignettes all woven together about life in a peasant town. And then Flames by Robbie Arnott is sort of set in Tasmania, our southernmost state, and it's got a lot of mythology, magical realism. It's really crazy, really brilliant. Loved them both. Two of my top reads of the year. That was my wrap up for September. Just kind of a quick one because I'd already talked about a lot of the books. So if you've read any of them, let me know. And I'll catch you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.